ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, Prithu Maharaj is meeting with the Kumaras. So we are here in the final section towards the end. We are at text 45. Prithu Maharaj Rajovacha, he is finally praising Sanat Kumarji for their beautiful instructions and is offering the prayers. Text 45. सेनापत्य च राज्यं च दण्डं नेतृत्वम् एव च सर्वलोकाधिपत्यं च वेदशास्त्रविदार्हति. Translation.
Since only a person who is completely educated according to the principles of Vedic knowledge deserves to be commander-in-chief, ruler of the state, the first to chastise, and the proprietor of the whole planet, Prithu Maharaj offered everything to the Kumaras. Purport. In this verse, it is very clearly stated that a kingdom, state, or empire must be governed under the instructions of saintly persons and Brahmanas like the Kumaras. When monarchy ruled throughout the world, the monarch was actually directed by a board of Brahmanas and saintly persons. The king, as the administrator of the state, executed his duties as a servant of the Brahmanas. It was not that the kings or the Brahmanas were dictators, nor did they consider themselves proprietors of the state. The kings were also well versed in Vedic literatures and thus were familiar with the injunctions of Sri Ishopanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Everything that exists belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also claims that he is the proprietor of all planetary systems. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Since this is the case, no one can claim to be proprietor of the state. The king, president, or head of the state should always remember that he is not the proprietor but the servant. In the present age, the king or president forgets that he is the servant of the God and thinks of himself as servant of the people. The present democratic government is proclaimed to be a people's government, a government by the people and for the people. But this type of government is not sanctioned by the Vedas. The Vedas maintain that a kingdom should be governed for the purpose of satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should therefore be ruled by a representative of the Lord. The head of a state should not be appointed if he is bereft of all Vedic knowledge. In this verse, it is clearly stated, Veda Shastra Vida Arhati, that all high government posts are especially meant for persons who are well conversant with the teachings of the Vedas. In the Vedas, there are definite instructions defining how a king, commander in chief, soldier, and citizen should behave. Unfortunately, there are many so called philosophers in the present age who give instruction without citing authority, and many leaders follow their unauthorized instructions. Consequently, people are not happy. The modern theory of dialectical communism, set forth by Karl Marx and followed by communist governments, is not perfect. According to Vedic communism, no one in the state should ever starve. Presently, there are many bogus institutions which are collecting funds from the public for the purpose of giving food to starving people. but these funds are invariably misused. According to the Vedic instructions, the government should arrange things in such a way that there will be no question of starvation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that a householder must see to it that even a lizard or a snake does not starve. They also must be given food. In actuality, however, there is no question of starvation because everything is the property of the Supreme Lord. And he sees to it that there is ample arrangement for feeding everyone. In the Vedas, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13, it is said, Eko Bhunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. The Supreme Lord supplies the necessities of life to everyone, and there is no question of starvation. If anyone starves, it is due to the mismanagement of the so called ruler, governor, or president. It is clear, therefore, that a person who is not well versed in the Vedic injunctions, Veda Shastra with, should not run for election as president, governor, etc. Formerly, kings were Raja Rishis, which meant that although they were serving as kings, they were as good as saintly persons because they would not transgress any of the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures and would rule under the direction of great saintly persons and Brahmanas. According to this arrangement, modern presidents, governors, and chief executive officers are all unworthy of their post because they are not conversant with Vedic administrative knowledge and they do not take direction from great saintly persons and Brahmanas. Because of his disobedience to the orders of the Vedas and Brahmanas, King Vena, Prithu Maharaj's father, was killed by the Brahmanas. Prithu Maharaj therefore knew very well that it behooved him to rule the planet as the servant of saintly persons and Brahmanas. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Now here, Prithu Maharaj is offering everything. The mood here is Manas Deha Geho, Jo Kichu more. So this is how he's offering everything to Sanat Kumaraj. Since only a person who is completely educated according to the principles of the Vedic knowledge deserves to be any of the presidential positions, right? Prithu Maharaj offered everything to the Kumaras. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada defines that this is the essential difference between the monarchy and democracy, right? Of course, the monarchy, as the advance of Kali Yuga, it also got dictated. We know that the Queen of France telling people, if you don't get, uh, you go and eat the cake. If you don't get bread, go and eat the cake. When they were completely disconnected from the grassroots. But previously, when monarchy was ruled throughout the world, during especially till up to the during the Pandavas generation, one more generation, Parikshit Maharaj, one more Janmejay, and then the Kali Yuga started to show the impact. Till then, the king was always a Chakravarti Samrat, one king, right? And they ruled under the board of the Brahmanas and the saintly personalities. So it is not that the king means he is either a dictator or he considers himself a proprietor. No, he will be working under the instructions of the saintly personalities and the Brahmanas, knowing very well to whom everything belongs, right? So the whom Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, knowing very well that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. And this ran through our civilization for a long, long time. Correct. Even today, if you see the dollar note, even in the dollar it is written, "In God we trust." Right. So this ran for a long time, and the king, president, and the head of the state would always remember that he is not the proprietor, he is not the dictator, but servant of God. Modern times, what has happened is, in the present age, Prabhupada says, the king or president has forgotten that he is servant of God, but he thinks himself servant of people. So God is replaced by people, Janata Janardan, right? Sometimes you may very popularly hear this, Janta Janardan ka Ashirwad chahiye. So this is considering people to be God and thus forming people's government, democracy, right? By the people, for the people, of the people. But this type of a people government is not recommended in the Vedas. right? Vedas very clearly describe what the government should be. And especially if we read the books based on the Vedas, like Chanakya's Kautilya Shastra and others, they very clearly define who should be the king, who should not be the king. One very clear definition there is anybody who is foreign to the land can become a saint, but he cannot become a president or the king of that region, or anybody who is born to the foreign mother or foreign father, right? So these are the instructions for a reason. They existed in the Shastra, but the whole thing became people's government, and then then people became God, and whatever is pleasing to people became Shastra, right? Therefore, we see that South India, the when South Indian elections come, they are going to come now. They are going to go. People will, I mean, literally on the in the election day, parties will sponsor, the wholesale meat eating across the village. The drinks will be distributed. You have to just go and vote. Literally to the tune of 5,000 to 8,000, sometimes even 15, 20,000 rupees are spent for one vote. And all this is recovered when people come in the power and through corruption and everything. This kind of government is not expected in the Vedas. Vedas give the definite instructions how a king or the Senapati, commander in chief, how the Sainik citizens or the citizens they should behave. But these instructions are not followed currently, and thus currently presidents also have somebody to give ashirvad. Like there was a who was that Chandra Swami. Okay, very big person he was. Recent times we have seen, the Ashok Kharat case of Nasik. Many politicians used to go to him. Even to fill up the AB form for the election, he used to write some date and something, and they used to go and do all different stupid, kind of activities. And such unauthorized instructions. And consecutively, what is the consequence? Consequence is that people are not happy, right? So it is not that, just one second. So it is not that modern times, uh, the politicians, they don't need guidance. They need guidance every time. But because they have replaced the guidance from the qualified Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, or they replace the guidance from the Vedas, therefore they are receiving guidance from very low class people with unauthorized instructions, Prabhupada writes here. Prabhupada says the modern theory of dialectic communism, right, that is proposed by Karl Marx is not perfect at all. What is the proof? Everything under the Marxist nation, it has collapsed. In India also, except Kerala, Marxism is collapsed everywhere. Naxalwadi is just finished on 31st March. Some traces may be here and there. Because it's a wrong philosophy, right? But when that philosophy applied spiritually, it is a correct philosophy. Vedic communism, therefore, Prabhupada says that no one in the state should ever starve. So all this communism, and Prabhupada also went through the phases of communism when ISKCON had a program in 1971-72 in Pandal, in Kolkata Pandal. Many Naxalites have come there, and they distributed the pamphlet saying that you wind up or die. Prabhupada fearlessly continued with his program, and nothing happened by the grace of the Lord and purity of Srila Prabhupada. But their idea that every nobody should starve, all that is possible, but not the wrong way given by the Marxist communism, but it is by Vaishnava communism on spiritual equality. And Prabhupada says, what to speak of human beings? Srimad Bhagavatam instructs that a householder have to take care of every living entity, even up to the lizard or ants in the house. They also should be fed. So what it means is, house should be so clean that there should be no lizard or ant or a cockroach. But the cockroach, lizard, or ant should not be killed in the house. Right, that is the point here. And Prabhupada's father, Gaur Mohan De, was a classic example of such a Vaishnava. Gaur Mohan De had a shop, it was a cloth shop, he's a cloth merchant. And, naturally in the cloth shop, there, sometimes there used to be some chuha, to come here. And he was such a compassionate personality. He used to keep some food for the chuha so that they will eat, and he used to pray that they will not. What do you say, kurtadne in English?
Bite.
Bite. Okay, bite is. हाँ ठीक है. So they should not bite the cloths around and disturb the cloths around. Such a kind, compassionate person he was. And this kind of a compassion is expected. Of course, that doesn't mean that our house is filled with lizard and cockroaches. Cleanliness has to be maintained. But the point here is everybody is taken care when one follows the Vaishnava paradigm or Vedic paradigm. Understanding eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. It is not that I am the doer, I am the maintainer. No, there is the doer, there is the maintainer, but it is my duty to act on his behalf in my pradesh, and my pradesh is my house, and I have to act accordingly. So if you see, Vaishnavas will treat even the ant very carefully. There is a story of later will come, the story of Jadabharat. And if Jadabharat is jumping and Rahugun is feeling like, a roller coaster ride when he is sitting in the palanquin, because Jadabharat is avoiding the ant at the risk of dangerously angering this king Rahuguna. This will come in the 5th canto. So this is spiritual communism based on the Vedic Shastra. It is clear, therefore, people who are not well trained in the Vedic instructions, Veda Shastravit, should not run for the elections or the government. What will happen? The people who are running the government must be Raja Rishi. What is Raja Rishi? They are Raja plus Rishi. They are Raja by competence and Rishi by character and knowledge, Veda Shastravit. And when such personalities, when they rule, there will be real aman ki asha. Correct. Otherwise, it is all the only the white pigeons, the balloon in the sky, right? So this is the Veda Shastravit. And formerly kings were like this. Like latest example, Rajarshi, we can see Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Raja Ranjit Singh, right? These were the Rajarshi examples who knew the Veda Shastravit, and they were also very, very, Shurveer in their fight. And this is how they beautifully ruled the kingdom. Further, Srila Prabhupada describes that the modern presidents, they are all unworthy of this post. And Prabhupada proposed this. When there was a time of emergency, Prabhupada had a meeting with Indira Gandhi. And Prabhupada knew he had very few years left. And Prabhupada proposed, Prabhupada said that, if you read Lilamrit very carefully, Srila Prabhupada meeting Indira Gandhi, and she was dead scared of death. Because, the few days ago, I think Mujibur Rahman of Bangladesh was killed. And she was very, very afraid that she would also be killed. And then she declared emergency. And around this time, Srila Prabhupada and the entourage went and met Indira Gandhi. And Prabhupada proposed this. Can you imagine? Prabhupada said that all MPs should be Brahman initiated devotees. And there should not be the very strict control on meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and vyabhichar. And Prabhupada said that, okay, no problem, you made your Sanjay Gandhi as the king, and you become the Rajamata. And all this should be handled in the, the very, very Vedic style. And Prabhupada proposed this directly to Indira Gandhi. Can you imagine this? Prabhupada says here, but all these are unworthy people. They do not know how to respect a saintly person and the Brahmanas. Of course, the current Indian government is a great, relief that to great extent they know what is to be done. And Prithu Maharaj therefore knew very well. He knew very well. He had experienced also very well his own father. And his life was also, he has written the previous shloka, he has written the verse, correct? What is that verse? Sadhu Uchishtam, that I am made up of the mercy of all these great personalities. And therefore he is offering everything to Sanat Kumar and Chatush Kumar. Text 46. Swameva Brahmano Bhunte Swam Vaste Swam Dadati Cha Tasyaiva Anugruhenannam Bhunjate Kshatridayadayah. Translation?
Translation: the Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudras eat their food by virtue of the Brahmana mercy. It is the Brahmanas who enjoy their own property, clothe themselves with their own property, and give charity with their own property. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped with the words Namo Brahmanya Devaya, which indicate that the Supreme Lord accepts the Brahmanas as worshipable gods. The Supreme Lord is worshipped by everyone, yet to teach others, he worships the Brahmanas. Everyone should follow the instruction of the Brahmanas, for their only business is to spread Shabda Brahma or Vedic knowledge all over the world. Whenever there is a scarcity of Brahmanas to spread Vedic knowledge, chaos throughout human society results. Since Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they do not depend upon others. In actuality, everything in the world belongs to the Brahmanas, and out of their humility, the Brahmanas accept charity from the Kshatriyas or kings and the Vaishyas or merchants. Everything belongs to the Brahmanas, but the Kshatriya government and the mercantile people keep everything in custody like bankers, and whenever the Brahmanas need money, the Kshatriya and Vaishya should supply it. It is like a savings account with money which the depositor can draw out at his will. The Brahmanas, being engaged in the service of the Lord, have very little time to handle the finances of the world, and therefore the riches are kept by the Kshatriyas or the kings who are to produce money upon the Brahmanas' demand. Actually, the Brahmanas or Vaishnavas do not live at others' cost. They live by spending their own money, although it appears that they are collecting this money from others. Kshatri and Vaishyas have no right to give charity, for whatever they possess belongs to the Brahmanas. Therefore, charity should be given by the Kshatriya and Vaishya under the instruction of the Brahmanas. Unfortunately, at the present moment, there is scarcity of Brahmanas, and since the so-called Kshatri and Vaishya do not carry out the orders of the Brahmanas, the world is in a chaotic condition. The second line of this verse indicates that the Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudras eat only by virtue of the Brahmanas' mercy. In other words, they should not eat anything which is forbidden by the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas and Vaishnavas know what to eat, and by their personal example, they do not eat anything which is not offered first to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They eat only prasada, or remnants of the food offered to the Lord. The Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra should eat only Krishna prasada, which is afforded them by the mercy of the Brahmanas. They cannot open slaughterhouse and eat meat, fish, or egg, or drink liquor, or earn money for this purpose without authorization. In the present age, because society is not guided by Brahminical instruction, the whole population is only absorbed in sinful activities. Consequently, everyone is deservedly being punished by the laws of nature. This is the situation in this age of Kali. Hare Krishna.
Now here, extreme glorification of Brahmanas by Maharaj Prithu. And we have to take the context. Maharaj Prithu is glorifying Brahmanas like Sanat Kumar, right? And this is Bhagavatam paradigm, and Bhagavad Gita paradigm is the basis of Bhagavatam paradigm. Chaturvarnam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashah. So this, whenever Prabhupada talks about anything about Brahmana or Vaishnava, it is never by hereditary or just a surname or the title. It is by guna karma vibhagashah. If this is clear, everything will be very, very clear. Brahma janati iti brahmana. Yajan yajan patan patan dana aparigraha. These are the activities of the Brahmana. And such Brahmanas, they are actually masters of the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the Shudras. Whatever they eat, whatever they wear or give in charity is actually their own thing, which is kept under the control of, under the management of Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So Prabhupada writes later in the purport, presently, unfortunately, there is such a huge scarcity of the Brahmanas. Correct? So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that the Lord is known as Namo Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. So the Lord is known as Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Again, Brahmana means he has to be, we have seen the qualifications of the Brahmana. It has nothing to do with the birth, but it has everything to do with Guna and Karma. Vibhagashah. Right? So whenever the word, anytime the Brahmana comes, it has to be with Guna Karma Vibhagashah. So they are the children of the Lord, or to be more precise, they are the obedient children of the Lord. And the property, because everything, Ishavasya Sarvam, everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. And the property of the father belongs to the obedient children. And therefore, Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, they have full right over the property of the Supreme Lord. That means full right over everything. and all other things, because they are so busy themselves in spreading God consciousness, spreading the knowledge, they have no time to handle money or the land, and therefore land is taken care by the Kshatriya along with administration, money is taken care by the Vaishyas. And this is the actual mood of how this Daivi Varnashram used to work. Right. And that's why, whenever Brahmana came, a great personality like Maharaj Bhrigu, Vishwamitra, in this case Sanat Kumar, the king made them sit on the Raja Simhasan and he said that everything belongs to you. Just a couple of verses previously, right? He's saying, Prana Adara Asuta Brahman Grihascha Saparischida. Everything belongs to you because that is the reality. But currently, so Prabhupada says actually it is not that the Brahmanas or the Vaishnavas, they live at the mercy of others. Right, because everything belongs to them and they live at the mercy of the Supreme Lord while everything else is being managed. And it may appear that they are accepting charity, but actually that is their own money because it is Krishna's money, which is being taken care currently by their custodians who are the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But there is unfortunately, at the present moment, there is a huge scarcity of Brahmana. In fact, Kali Yuga is known for this. Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha. That in Kali Yuga, Praya, everybody will be Shudra. And later in the 12th canto, we'll hear this, read this. Vipratve Sutrame Vacha. And people will claim they are the Brahmana simply by showing their genuine, saying that, I am Brahmana because I am wearing the thread, not even sacred thread. Right. Sutra, Vipratve, one will become Vipra simply by showing the thread. So this is not a Brahmana. Brahmana is irrespective of the so-called jati he is born in, it is with guna karma vibhagasha. Now look at the Varnashram, Daivi Varnashram. Varnashram was very severely misunderstood in India. It was exploited, no doubt, by the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. They exploited the Shudras in a big way, considering they themselves to be Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya, and all the while, many times doing the abominable activities. But the entire paradigm is completely different if one understands this shloka from Bhagavad Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Right. And what is the activities? So, how to follow Brahmana? First, Prabhupada says, first you improve your eating. Brahmanas will eat only prasadam, patram pushpam phalam toyam, which is offered to the Supreme Lord, and not that they will eat anything and everything and opening. They cannot open the slaughterhouses and eat meat, fish, or eggs, or drink liquor, or earn money for their purpose without the authorizations. So this is not a Brahmana, right? And now we can see all these activities are generally done by so-called Brahmanas only, Venkis, right? In Pune, it's a big brand it is. And to washify their sins, they have opened some Balaji temple and this temple and that temple. Not knowing that your name previously was Venkateshwara Hatcheries, but because of your perpetual sins that you committed, now you have become Venki. You cannot even chant the name of Lord Venkateshwara. Right? So these are not the Brahmanas. Prabhupada is very clear. Just imagine the clarity, right? Brahmanatvam doesn't come by birth. It has nothing to do with birth. It has everything to do with Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. But in Kali Yuga, everything is misplaced, everything is topsy-turvy, including so-called Brahmanas. And therefore, only thing here in Kali Yuga is to follow, the Nama Sankirtan. This is how Srila Prabhupada later concludes the purport. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dhamma Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.